Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in for another Two Bear Arms channel broadcast. Tonight, we're talking unloaded, and we're going to talk about some recent hunts. I'm Kurt.
I'm Deuce.
And we thank you for watching. I just got back.
Yeah.
Oh, gone last week. I was out in Wyoming for a mountain lion hunt. And this was take two of the mountain lion hunt. For those that think mountain lion hunting is easy, well, we had to do it twice to get it done, but very neat experience. We went out to the Bighorn Mountains region, and we were in the Ten Sleep Valley out there. Beautiful, beautiful country. And we went out in February. Just a little backstory for those that don't know. We went out in February of this year and was out there for a week, and the weather was so cold and so bad that the mountain lions all caved up. They just weren't, we couldn't find tracks. We snowmobiled up in the mountains. We trucks up in the mountains, guides all different directions, helpers all different directions trying to locate. We just couldn't find any tracks whatsoever. They were completely caved up for the week. It was minus 40 wind chill. Some of the normal temperatures were minus 27, 28 degrees at the time. And so, it was so cold they just stayed put. So we didn't have any luck at that time. So now we came back in December and had a little different experience. There wasn't any snow when we got there, and we had to work fairly hard to locate where they might be hiding out at. But they were moving around. We knew they were moving around. We just had to figure out a way to track them. So. While we were out there, the second day that we were out there, we went in the northern region and found some snow, and it didn't take us long. We found tracks right away. So our dogs, the guides that were with us, I'll give a shout out to Nate and Braden, our guides. They were fantastic and know the area very well, and got the dogs right away on the track. And it was pretty epic to watch dogs work. If you've never been able to go out and do something like that or seen dogs work, they use a lot of the similar dogs like coon hunters use, basically walkers and blue ticks, smaller hound dogs. And it's amazing how well these dogs are trained to pick up on the scent and how excited they are to go out and track these lions. We kicked them out of the truck mid-morning, and we had a track that we knew was fresh, and the rancher had actually seen the mountain lion the week before stalking his cattle on his property, and he had some elk hunters that were also on the property the week before, and they had seen the mountain lion during daylight hours, and right. It was stalking some deer at the time, and they've seen it for quite a while. The mountain lion actually moved around behind them and got up in some rocks behind them, and they got nervous and called their guide and said, "Hey,
right,
we're kind of scared here because
right.
The mountain lion disappeared," and it was a pretty good sized one. So they opted to quit hunting for the day and left the area. So this mountain lion was stalking this area, and that's one of the reasons we went to that area specifically at the rancher's request. And once we had the track, we turned the dogs loose, and we thought at first, because there were some thickets right there, that we were going to be caught up with the mountain lion really pretty quick. And about 2 miles into the track, we realized it wasn't going to be real quick. The lion had moved up the mountain,
right,
and gone right through the thicket, moved up the mountain.
Now 2 miles doesn't sound too terrible when you're on flat ground.
Right, correct.
It's probably a little bit bigger deal. It probably feels more like 4 miles when you're crawling over rocks and rough terrain.
And here in Indiana, we're at about 600 foot above sea level.
Right.
Out there, I checked the altimeter just as we started the hike, and we were at about 7,400 when we started. Yeah. So that really changes things a lot too. But yeah, a lot of mountainous terrain. For those watching on YouTube, we'll have some pictures pop up here after a bit that our producer will put in the video here to kind of show you some of the area, and you'll see the lion and some of the terrain that the lion was in at the time. So As we started the track at that 2 mile mark, the dogs picked up pace. They use a GPS system there, and the GPS. It was kind of interesting to watch how they evaluated the GPS, because we obviously couldn't see the dogs at that point. They had gone way ahead of us. And one of the guides, his dogs don't start making any noise until they have it treed. That's the way he's trained them. And so it was kind of interesting, because I was expecting, like coon hunting, the dogs bark the whole time once they're on trail. And so it was kind of eerie that the dogs, and I kept asking, why aren't the dogs making noise? He said they haven't treed yet.
Okay.
And so,
well, that's, I guess that's nice, and it's, eerie at the same time. So
yeah, exactly. Exactly. You'll know when they've treed, but at the same time, it was kind of silent and eerie. The only thing you could hear is me breathing hard at that point. So, and so we continued to follow the dogs, and then he looked on the GPS and he said, they're really, really getting close. I said, how do you know that? He said, the dogs are in a perfect line. They've now lined up and they're right on the tail of that lion. And it wasn't maybe a minute later, we could hear the dogs way off in the distance. We could hear them echoing. So they had it treed. Once we finally hiked up there, which added about another, probably just short of a mile, maybe at a mile, to get to that point, the lion was in a deadfall tree that was still standing, but I think it had been struck by lightning is actually what I think. It was a dead tree, but the lion was up in it. Very neat, picturesque situation. But when we came in on the mountain top, we were looking down on the lion, actually. The lion was probably 350 yards down from us in the tree, and it took me a second to even pick him up. But then we had to maneuver back down that side to get to that point. And once we got down there, we got very, very close, probably 25 feet from the lion and from the dogs, of course. And as we got up there, the lion looked at us, and I seen the feet kind of do a little two-step deal, and she bailed out of the tree. So away she went. And the dogs right after her. Yeah. And I'm thinking, okay, they're going to catch right up with her. Well, no, they're pretty fast. So she was gone, and I watched her go through the canyon and around the corner and up another side of the mountain. So chase was on again. So we let the dogs trail her, and we started moving that way, but it took the dogs a little while to catch up and put her in another tree by that time. So we took us about 25 minutes to make it, maybe 30 minutes to make it over to where they were at this time, and got in there. This time she was in a very large juniper tree, and so she was covered by a lot of branches and things. So she was kind of camouflaged in there. I mean, obviously we knew where she was at. We could see her and hear her and hear the dogs. The dogs were very upset that they couldn't get to her. So, but you could. Is
the cat being pretty vocal at this point in time? Or?
Yeah, she was voicing, she was trying to figure out at one point, and you'll see in one of the pictures that Phil will put up there, you could see kind of the look on her face. And my guide said, when we looked at the pictures later, he said she was evaluating whether she could whip that dog's butt.
Right.
But then the other dogs had come up and joined up in the tree, and she didn't want to tangle with, I think we had 7 dogs with us at the time. So she didn't want to tangle with 7. She was willing to tangle with 1. But you can see them looking at each other eye to eye, and they're only about probably 6 or 7 feet apart. Okay. And I think she was eyeballing to try to decide if she could take that one dog. But, and yeah, she was very vocal. She'd swat her paws out at him, and of course, the dogs didn't care. They just wanted her out of the tree. And then as we approached there, I took, my guide, Nate, fantastic guy. He said, you can snap a couple pictures as you get close in there. She's not going to go anywhere this time. And he was almost right. Just as I snapped a picture, I went to stick my phone and pull my handgun out, and she bailed again. Away she went. So, and this time she went harder than the first time. She went clear down the side of the cliff, which the dogs didn't want to take that route. So they went just a little bit off to the one side, but she bailed off a very steep cliff, landed fine, took right off. and she had a couple 100-yard head start in front of the dogs now at this point. And she went clear up the valley floor, clear up the side of the mountain, and disappeared over the top of it. So kind of back the direction we started.
Right.
So dogs were in pursuit, and we made our way back down into the valley floor and up and around and back up over the mountain again. And then we realized she went up over the next peak. So we had to track down into that valley and back up the other side and back down it.
Right.
And then she was in another juniper tree there. And as we were coming down there, I talked to the guide. I had both a handgun and a rifle with me, but I got the rifle extremely snow covered at one point, and I just didn't feel comfortable planning on using it because I didn't. If snow was packed in the barrel or anything, I didn't really want to pull the trigger on it with it packed full. So I told him at that point I was definitely going to use handgun, and we just had to get in a position to where I could. So we came in from the top again because that's just the way it works out, and we actually got basically eye level. She was pretty high up in the tree, but where the tree was positioned and where we came in, it put us almost at eye level with where she was at. She had her back to us. She was paying attention to the dogs, and it was about a 55 yard spot we were in. And I told the guide, I said, I just got to do it here. I don't want to get up there. I don't want her jumping again. And using a 1911 in 10 millimeter from Springfield, TRP, and
with no optic on
with no optic on it, open sights. And, I was hoping with the handgun to be somewhere around 25 yards.
Right.
Would be preferred. But in this case, if she would have bailed again, that would have been pretty rough on us and rough on the dogs too.
Right.
Because now we're about 6.5 miles into this.
Yeah.
From the time that we kicked the dogs out. So it's been a pretty lengthy adventure. And I think probably by now we're somewhere around the 8,000 foot mark, somewhere in that neighborhood. Maybe just a little less than that. But so yeah, fired the 10 millimeter, struck her in the upper shoulder, and which we didn't know at the time because there again you can't see,
right?
And you're not sure. We found this out when we skinned her, but it knocked her into the tree pretty good. But then she bounced back up, and I fired 2 more shots. One struck her in the center of the back and knocked her out of the tree. And when she fell out of the tree, she went down an embankment about a 60-yard or so slide, basically, from where the tree was at. And she slid down to the bottom. Of course, the dogs went right after her. I think at that point, she was mortally wounded. She just didn't know it.
Right.
And so she had gotten into a bush right there and started a battle with the dogs, because the dogs at that point, they're on ground level.
Right.
They want to fight. And they dove in there. And I had a whole lot of concern for the dogs because the guide and I had just been talking all morning long on the drive up there about, tragic events where the dogs have been injured by mountain lions or even killed by mountain lions. And I didn't want something like that to happen with his dogs. Especially I'd gotten a little bit of, I didn't have a lot of time with them dogs, but I liked them already.
Sure.
So we ran over, slid down. I went down first. Slid down the same embankment basically and just sat on our butts and just slid down because there was no way to climb down it. It was fairly steep. It was like going down a kid's slide basically, just hard rock. And he followed me down. We got to the bottom there and found a little hole in the bushes there because they were in the bushes going at it, and found a nice clear opening, about a 6 or 8 inch hole that we could see into the bushes. And I shot her there and finished her off. But, and one of the dogs she'd clipped him pretty good with her claw.
Okay.
And, cut his ears pretty good. I was very concerned about it. My guide said, don't worry, dog will be fine. That's my toughest dog. She'll be fine. And next day she was chasing lions again the next day. She was good. So, after a little bit of doctoring work by the guide. So it was, quite an experience. And, once we got the dog separated from her and that type of thing and got her drug out, we didn't know it was a female until we got it out. you always want to try to take the males, but this one was actually stalking ranchers' livestock. So at that point, it doesn't matter male or female,
Right.
as long as they don't have a cub with them, they're to be taken out.
Yep.
So, and that was the decision that we made prior to letting the dogs out, was male or female, this line has to go.
Right.
Because it's, going to cost the rancher a tremendous amount of money here pretty soon.
Right.
And
that was correct me if I'm wrong, is that the rancher's call?
Yes, and the guide and my call. I mean,
Okay.
they were very good.
Rancher wanted that cat gone.
Yeah, the rancher's deal is, at that point, he said, if you guys go after this lion, I want it dead, male, female, whatever. And so then it was up to us to decide if we wanted to go after the lion. And he was leaving that up to us. And then my guides talked to me and said, if you are, you make the decision, but male or female, we've got to take this lion if we catch it. And, and we thought about it for a while. And I said, well, this is a good conservation move, because it's saving some livestock. We know she's stalking this pasture in particular. She's not just stalking deer. She's actually legitimately looking at the livestock on this property. So that becomes a problem. And
this is a good time, if I can interrupt, to kind of mention, I think a lot of people think that that's something that hunters like to just kind of gravitate towards as to, as an excuse to hunt. But I think few people, especially people that don't, that aren't cognizant of how it all works, the economic impact that can be had negatively by these ranchers out there. Many of them are barely breaking even to start
absolutely.
with. They're not ranching for their money. They're ranching for family heritage. It's all they know. It's how they make their living. Every head of livestock that's lost to something like that is money out of their pocket that they fiercely depend on. So that's, also really important, so when you have an animal that's either taking livestock or is going to take livestock, which mountain lions everybody knows they're fully capable of doing, and they do it every day. That's pretty legitimate, not pretty legitimate. It's a very legitimate reason, because it can have a huge economic impact on that rancher, and that's their livelihood.
You bet.
So
you bet. And, that's, the guide and I got talking quite a bit, the three guides that we had out there at the time, because my buddy was with me, and then the gentleman that owns the guide service, we were all discussing many different times. People don't realize how violent nature is, I guess,
right,
in a lot of respects.
Yeah.
And I know we had some Facebook questions earlier when I posted some pictures about, folks, this isn't necessarily trophy hunting, even though, yes, out of respect for the animal, I'm going to have it taxidermied, because that's the way I operate, and I apologize to no one for that. But, these the Wyoming DNR study mountain lions very intently, and they determine a number of permits that'll be allowed per zone, or a number of animals that'll be allowed to be taken per zone. It's no different than Indiana's deer season, allowing licenses and such, and a number of does, but they actually set a quota number in each zone in Wyoming. And I don't know how many zones there's quite a few, but like the zone that we were in, I think the quota was like 26 for the entire season in that zone, and that covered several county area. So just think of Indiana and several counties. They were allowed to take 26 mountain lions in that area.
Which tells you the number of cats that are in that area then. I mean, really.
Absolutely.
It's, because that's just a percentage.
Oh,
so it's not like they're trying to eradicate 50% of the lion population.
Right.
So, I mean, it's, there's a lot more cats than that in that zone then. So.
Oh, yeah. And we stood on one of the mountains, and I asked one of the guides, I said, and I was just kind of being facetious with it, but I said, look out across here, as far as we can see, which was quite a ways. I said, how many mountain lions do you think are out there looking out across there? And he just really quick turned and looked at me. He said, 400 to 500.
Yeah.
I said, what? He said, yeah, there's 400 to 500 mountain lions. And what you can see from where we're standing all the way to the horizon, 400 to 500 somewhere out in there.
Yeah.
He said, they're stealthy. He said, so, and it covered multiple zones, but, but yeah, with that quota, DNR knows exactly how many cats are being taken out of there. They're not trying to eradicate them. They're trying to manage them. Yep. Still keep them there, but keep them in check so they don't do, astronomical amounts of damage to the ranchers and to the elk and whitetail and mule deer. And, they don't, and I was a little surprised to learn that they don't go after, I said, well, I bet, because we seen a lot of rabbits. And I said, I bet the mountain lions, I bet they love, catching up with the rabbits and stuff. And I said, really only if they're starving. Right. They would much rather have a deer or a sheep or, livestock of any type. And, they said a successful adult mountain lion will kill one large livestock, either cattle or elk or deer, every 7 to 10 days.
Right.
They'll kill them, put them down, and then guard over that stash of meat, not traveling far, but finding a place to sleep at night, but then coming right back and feeding again until they gorge themselves. Right. By then they've burnt the energy off and they have to kill again. But the other part of that I found fascinating, and from the rancher standpoint, is that when the females have the cubs, as they grow and they stay with the mom for 2 years, typically, during that 2 years, they kill for sport at times. Yeah. Mom will take them out, and they mentioned one example of a rancher there not too far from where we were at who was a sheep rancher. And he come out one morning and found, I think, 17 or 18 of his sheep all dead in the field, all bitten in the throat by mountain lions. Right. And the theory was they were using that as training overnight. They were knocking his sheep down and just killing them and not eating them because they probably had a kill that they were full from. Yeah. And we're just putting the sheep down just to teach the young ones how to kill. And so, that was pretty devastating for that.
Oh, absolutely.
Nature. So in those situations, I think, I'll argue with anybody all day long about the ethics of hunting.
Sure.
Feel free to stop by the shop and look me up. We'll have a talk.
Right. Not on Facebook.
Yeah, not on Facebook. I don't like typing that much.
Yeah. I mean, you're up for it. But
well, I'm up for the
fingers get tired.
Yeah. Spell check and all that.
It's way more fun in person, but nobody ever takes you up on it.
I'll buy coffee. Yeah, I'll provide the coffee. So comfortable seat to sit on. But
it had to be a totally different experience from you from adrenaline. You've never been in that type of a hunting. Most of it's been deer size game, whitetail and stuff like that, and had to be totally different for you.
Oh, so. It was, hunting as long as I have, whitetail especially, a few other game, a lot of small game, early on, but this was, I had a lot of adrenaline, which, you don't feel that often once you've hunted as long as you have. I guess you feel it, you just manage it well. There was a moment right at the beginning, not ashamed to admit it, when I pulled that pistol up for the first shot, I had a lot of front sight movement.
Sure.
I actually reset my safety for a split second and took a really deep breath. Closed my eyes for a second and then dropped the safety, opened my eyes again, picked up on the target, fired the shot. But I actually took probably, which there again, from the time of my first shot to the time of the final shot was maybe 80 seconds. Right. I mean, everything happened so quick, maybe 90 seconds. Everything was so high speed, but that pause was, a split second, but it was enough pause that gave me that good front shot. Right. Or the front shoulder shot. But it was a lot of adrenaline. So all the way through.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. And then afterwards, of course, then you have the after adrenaline when everything's calm.
Yeah. When it dumps on you.
Yeah. But a lot of that got knocked out of me dragging them, lying down the mountain. Of course, my guy did Nate's fantastic guy. He did most of the dragging, but that was nice of him. Since he forgot his backpack and his rope, that's the least he could do. So.
Oh, okay.
So, shout out to you, Nate.
These things will happen.
Yeah, they'll happen. Yeah. So he still owes me mountain house. According to him, he has a tradition where up on the mountain, once you kill a lion, he builds a little fire, makes some mountain house food, and you sit and you eat a little bit to get your energy level back up before the drag.
Calories you just burned.
Yeah, get the calories back up that you just scorched. Well, he forgot his backpack, so we couldn't do that. Yeah. So, we had to drag out.
His focus was the task at hand.
Yeah. So, So he owes me a mountain house dinner on the mountain at some point. Yeah. But
I've been told that, it's in my experience that, when you're going after cougar, that just a latest issue of the Cosmo magazine and a skinny martini is a good way to trap or bait them.
I didn't know where you were going with that, but then all of a sudden it clicked. You're like, oh God, here we go.
No.
So,
hey, this is our podcast. We can say whatever we want.
I should have never read that article before I went, because it was nothing like that. It was absolutely nothing like that. I was very disappointed. So I had a bottle of wine.
That's just
with
what
me.
I've heard.
I had a bottle of wine with me.
I have no personal experience.
Yep. I had my playlist all set up on Spotify.
Apple Teeny.
Yeah, Apple Teeny. We were all set. So
should have done the trick.
What do you mean we got to move fast up that hill? Well, that wasn't in that article. So, damn it.
Wrong cougar.
Wrong cougar. Dang it. So, but no, very, very neat experience. I've had a few people ask me since I got back that, what, physically, what was it like? Be in shape a little bit.
Yeah.
Be in shape a little bit. There again, I'm not ready to be in Cosmo magazine as a centerfold or anything, but I did.
Not unless it's for the elderly.
Oh, thanks, man.
AARP, maybe.
Oh, wow. Okay, yeah. You're good. You're funny. You funny guy. You funny guy. But
no, I was actually going to lead into that.
Yeah.
Because we're both, believe it or not, pretty health conscious,
Yep.
and we both make an effort to be in shape and
Yep.
do some form of working on it. And I know you've been hitting it hard the last couple of years,
Yep.
and you've noticed that it's made it. You started doing that well before the first time you went out.
Yep.
And makes a difference, guys.
Absolutely.
Because you don't know you're out of shape till you drag a deer 300-400 yards.
yeah.
I mean, that's and that's something that a lot of guys, I forget what the fatality rate is on guys that have heart attacks from doing something like that during hunting, but it's more than what fatal shootings or accidental shooting. It's just that's something that most people don't think about. So if you're gonna do something like that, it's if you're investing the money and the time to be out there, you probably should put a little time into yourself before you go out there. And that can make a big difference.
And, cardio is the big thing. I bought an altitude mask a couple years ago that you can adjust the dials on to change what it represents altitude wise. Use that for a lot of hiking exercises. And, you don't have to go, and I don't want to discourage anybody from going out. And doing it, but I also want you to be safe doing it. And I want you to get the full experience out of it without hindering your guides or hindering your own situation going out there.
You're not pulling up an ATV 25 yards from where you're going and just popping out and shooting.
Yeah, not for mountain lion. In fact, we talked about that, and the one guide's been doing it for his whole life. His father's a guide and his brother's a guide, and so he's done it. He used to go to elk camp when he was like 8.
Yeah.
So, and he's my age, so he's in his 50s. And he said maybe just a small handful of times have they had a situation where they kick the dogs out and the dog's tree 100, 200 yards away, and they walked out there, boom, got the lion, and that was it. Lion didn't jump, didn't take off, and just a very, very small handful of times that has happened. And one of the other guys said they've never had it happen. So, every time it's a
and you were prepped for the experience. You'd done your homework.
Yep.
Like everything you do, you don't go anything without some knowledge, doing your research, and it's just kind of the way you operate. You ever wonder who reads a user manual from front to back? He does.
See, all my deep dark secrets.
I do know all your deep dark. Yeah, he gets excited. He's like, oh, good. Go and pour a glass of Crown and read that couch manual tonight. Oh, the lever works like this. Yeah, you're very passionate about user manuals.
And then you're gonna have a question one of these days, and I'm gonna know the answer because I read the manual, and then you're gonna be like, "Oh man, you're a genius," and I'm gonna be like, "That's because I read the manual." So.
I don't really assume you know all the answers. I just know that I'm wrong. So.
All right, good.
Yeah,
okay.
I've learned my lesson.
See, and it didn't take us that long. We've been friends for a lot of years, so I'm glad you finally recognized that.
Oh, absolutely,
works great.
Yeah,
works great.
It's a miracle that I make from point A to point B.
So. We're always here to help.
Thank you.
Yep. But no, guys, if you got any questions or anything, feel free to come by the shop and visit. Or if you're not from around here, you can email me or send me a message on Facebook, and I'll try to answer your questions there. Again, if you want to debate, I'd prefer you come and we do it in person, and I'll buy a cup of coffee for you.
Yeah.
But it very neat experience. You know, it was on basically my bucket list. I don't know if I believe in bucket list per se. Just keep doing more things and more things every day is my theory. But but it was on my list that I wanted to accomplish and to get a mountain lion, and very pleased with it.
Awesome experience with the formidable foe there. So,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Just, you know, I did a little research too before this podcast. You know, mountain lions are listed as a game species, and they are legal to hunt in 13 states.
13, okay.
Yep.
I didn't know that. Great. Wasn't in my manual?
Yeah.
So
I did it for you.
Nice,
So
nice. The neat thing, Wyoming folks, you know, I'll brag a little bit on the state of Wyoming. I've kind of fallen in love with that state. The neat thing is you can buy a mountain lion tag right over the counter. So you don't need to draw, excuse me, you don't need to draw or get preference points or anything. I don't know about the other states, but I can say in Wyoming, you can just buy the tag right over the counter. I think it was right around $400 for the tag. And it's good for a year. So that's one reason we went back now, is because we didn't get one in February. So we went back now because our license was still good. Till the end of the year, or till the end of season, I guess. So that worked out really great.
Yep. And again, those areas, not only are the ranchers part of the economic situation around there, so is the hunting.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's a big boost for the local economy, from the restaurants and bars that you guys go to the grocery stores, to the whatever, you know, hotels that you stop at. I mean, it's a big deal.
The ice cream we had at the general store, all of that.
Yeah. That's all part of it.
Bought a lot of Christmas gifts while I was out there. So, you know, we stimulated the economy out there.
I didn't give you a list before I went out, so I hope you got what I wanted.
Okay. We'll see we'll see. Christmas.
I won't hold my breath.
Hey, you got a present under the tree. Hush.
All right.
So, all right. So that kind of sums up my activity out in Wyoming. Fantastic trip. My buddy that went with me there, again, mountain lion hunting is hard. Yeah. He did not come home with a lion, and this was his second. You know, he went with me in February, and they're again out there another week this time. Wasn't from lack of effort by anyone's part. Right. Everybody worked hard. We just didn't have the snow in 95% of the area did not have snow at the time, and that's what makes it much easier to track them. You can still find them, but it's much harder. And all the guides, and we were all separated into, you know, I was with one guide, he was with another guide, and then the owner was out there working the area too. And we were all going in different directions trying to locate lions. The second to last day, we sent dogs out. We had a little bit of snow, just enough snow that we identified a print, and we released the dogs on it. Dogs went probably 3/4 of a mile, and then got into really rocky conditions and lost the print. There was no more snow. Right. So once the line was up on the rocks, the scent just wasn't there. And it was an old enough track. If it was a fresh track, but it was probably at least 6 to 8 hours old. So the dogs broke off of that one. And then the final day, we got a lot of snow overnight, but it was snowing also in the morning. So it was covering up the tracks that they had produced overnight, because they're nocturnal hunters. Right. And we kicked dogs midway through that morning, and they had a really good track. They were going into a low valley. We were very excited about it. And we were just sure we were going to get one tree down there. And we think they got down there and got the signals crossed with bobcats that were down there in the area. Okay. And just kind of got scattered out, couldn't make the difference between, you know, they're looking for cats. Right. So, you know, mountain lion or bobcat, whatever. Yeah. But they got scattered out, and then they got wore out. And a few hours later, we pulled the dogs, and that kind of ended the mission. So we ran out of time. So it is a little tougher of a sport to go after. And it's a lot like deer hunting. Just put your time in. Right. And like I say, it took us 2 trips out there. Yeah. Which is a big time investment. Oh. You know, you were gone a total of 2.5 weeks between the 2 trips. Yeah. So, you know, and you've got a business to run here, and it, you know, we missed you while you were gone. Yeah. So, They paid you to say that, I know. But
who paid me?
Well, I don't know.
'Cause I'm the only one that missed you while
Oh,
you were
okay.
gone.
Well, see,
so,
you said
yeah.
they. You said we.
I
and
said
was
they
like,
to make
no,
you feel better.
Okay,
but,
yeah, I appreciate
yeah. No, it's we held the fort down while you were gone. And
Yeah.
we're busy, and a lot of people asked where you were. I said none of your business.
Yeah.
So
glad you were in charge of customer relation. That was fantastic.
Get out. None of your business.
Yep.
No. We said you were on a hunting trip.
Yep.
So
Yep.
yeah, I know, and a lot of people, all your Facebook followers and stuff, were really interested to hear kind of the firsthand details. And,
Sure.
And you didn't. I know you didn't embellish anything. So it's the
No.
same. It's the same thing that you told me.
Yep.
So.
And and there again, the one thing that I really like relating about this hunt is because I kind of consider it a poor man's hunt, if you will.
Right.
Yes, it still takes a few $1,000s to go out there, and I won't name specific prices because guides charge all different amounts. But it's not, it's not an African safari hunt, and it's not, a full blown trip to Alaska type hunt. It's a much cheaper hunt. Like I say, it's still an investment, but and it's still a lot of drive time. I mean, it's 1,480 miles one way to get out there where we were at. So,
and it's a hunt that you virtually could not just drive out there and do yourself.
Oh no!
Unless you took dogs out with you and knew the area and had permission and knew all the spots. I mean, it's just not one of those type of deals. So.
You can get so turned around out there just in the geographic area of how it's laid out.
Right.
And it's people, Indiana doesn't understand how big that the valley is and the mountain ranges are. It's and we'll have some pictures there again on our YouTube for you to see, but it's big. And then the skill that it takes. These guides have been doing this their whole lives, and they've dedicated themselves. Nate, the guide I was with all week, I mean, the man lives and breathes this, and thinks about it 7 days a week. Works with the dogs constantly, and it does take some epic skill to be able to track these lions down. So, but if anybody has any questions, get a hold of me on it, and very excited to be getting it off my list as far as something I wanted to do. We'll see what the next thing is. So maybe bear.
Yeah, maybe bear.
Yeah, bear or still want to go after mule deer.
Yes.
And still want to go after some sort of sheep or ram.
Yep.
Haven't made a decision on what that is yet, but got some time. Not going on one for a while now.
Yeah.
So, hey.
I still like the idea of just releasing some boars here on the property. And
Yeah.
Some feral pig hunting.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm sure everybody would really appreciate that in the area.
Yeah. A few hundred Russian boars. Kick them out.
Boars.
Yeah. Yeah. Good for the area.
Yeah. And back here, it's still we got 6 days left of muzzleloader and whitetail here in Indiana. So I'm still hard at it.
Yeah.
So
Good.
Still hoping and wishing to land one myself.
The nice thing is they're not going anywhere.
They're not going anywhere.
Yep.
No.
Yep.
No, they are not.
So everybody out still deer hunting, we wish you luck. There again, stay safe. If you're in a tree stand, please wear a harness. And, when we're talking about falling and liability, that leads me into a commercial here for our insurance company, WR Hall. And good friends of ours, and they provide our insurance here, not only for the vehicles and buildings and inventory, but also our liability and such here. And they can do that for your business or your personal liability. So get a hold of Mike or one of the great folks over there. And I know we put him in touch with one of our friends last week.
Yeah.
And he put together a very comprehensive insurance policy for them, for their business. And that's fantastic, and we appreciate that. So get a hold of our man at WR Hall, and what's the tagline?
WR Hall, they've got you covered.
There you go. See, that's like we scripted that, and it's not. This is unloaded. We can talk
totally
about
unloaded.
I love it. So, so we got a pistol here everybody's been looking at on YouTube. Why don't you tell us a little about this revolver?
Well, this is a horse we don't want to beat too hard, but and there's more than one video out there kind of explaining this. Some of them are okay videos. Some of them are just downright kind of wrong.
Okay.
But for people that don't know, single action revolver is something that you and I are highly familiar with.
Yes, sir.
I I don't know if I'd call us experts, but we spent a lot of time with them.
Okay.
So and
Yes,
how
sir.
they work.
Yes, sir.
They're guns that we shoot competitively, and literally, I've got $250,000 rounds through a single action revolver in the last 20 years. So
pretty
that's
conservative, probably.
Yeah, probably, and way more handling and dry fire and practice than that. So, what I have here is a Pieta Colt replica. It's a replica of the Colt Peacemaker, 1873.
Okay.
Coincidentally, the Pieta is not in not in finish or anything, but this is the same gun that would have been on the set of the recent Alec Baldwin tragedy.
Okay.
So I just kind of wanted to highlight for people that haven't seen it
Okay.
how these guns work, guys.
Okay.
And again, I'll show you.
Okay. Yes, sir. Completely unloaded.
Okay. Also, important to note, this is my personal spinning gun. I do a lot of gun spinning, and the firing pin has been removed.
Okay.
So that's not for safety. Actually, that's so I don't impale myself
Okay.
with it. So, but the way this is a true Colt replica. Actually, the Pietas are the closest modern-made replica to an actual real Colt single-action army that's made today. These guns have basically, you'll hear the 4-click action. You've got your safety notch right there. That's so the hammer is not directly resting all the way through the frame. And you've got your half cock, which frees up the cylinder for loading. Your 3/4 cock, which just is part of getting your hand into position, and your full cock, which locks the cylinder in place. So in order for this gun to fire, hammer has to be pulled all the way back and the trigger pulled. Okay. Obviously this gun's in good condition. These guns have to be really beat on for the sears and bolt notches and all of the components to not work correctly. And most of these modern made replicas are a lot more robust than even the originals. So, let's assume that the gun on set was in good working order. Okay. So really, when he says he didn't pull the trigger, there's only one way this gun can go off, and that is from pulling the trigger. I don't care if even if you're letting the hammer down, and you were to slip off of it, it still requires pulling the trigger.
Touching the trigger.
Yep. So, I'm sure details are continue to come out, and the interview that he did, the in-person interview that he did where he said he didn't pull the trigger. Like I said, we weren't there, but I find it hard to believe, knowing what I know about single action revolvers. Once that gun's cocked, got to pull the trigger.
Yep.
So, even so, let's say, for example, this gun was loaded with all non-transfer bar single action revolvers. The rule is to only load 5. They're 6-shot revolvers. You only load 5, and you rest the hammer on an empty chamber in your cylinder. So, and the reason for that is that an impact to the back of this hammer, a very hard impact, something harder than that, could make that round go off if it was resting on a live round. So, just something to point out, guys. Just something I kind of wanted to show our viewers and give them a different, something to think about. Hopefully, it was informative for people that don't know.
Sure.
And
sure.
And again, I don't know the ins and outs and what was being done. But what we are finding out is there was a lot of budget cuts and a lot of corners being cut.
Yep.
So,
and some people unhappy with some of the safety aspects that were taking place on the prior filming, and then also at the start of this filming. So, we'll let them investigate it and figure out what's going on there. But from the demonstration there, you can kind of see that something pulled the trigger.
Yes.
So
something
is basically the consensus of our opinion. And there again, in our opinion, and 75 cents will buy you a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
So
maybe.
Yeah. Well.
Maybe
Yeah. Well, maybe not.
Maybe if you're a senior at McDonald's in the morning, I don't know.
I get my coffee.
Is it?
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry.
Convinced him to see it. So. All right, folks. We've had a great time tonight. We're going to wrap it up here because we're just about exactly on time. So we hope everybody enjoyed watching tonight. Oh, what?
White Claw.
Oh, we forgot about the White Claw.
Forgot about the White Claw.
Yeah, Phil didn't give me a note ahead of time. He's mouthing back there, but I didn't understand. Yeah. We got to burn somebody on the White Claw yet tonight. Let's see. So somebody's going to have to buy a 6-pack of White Claw.
Or ranch water.
Okay, so we still got that deal going. So whoever's listening to the podcast or the YouTube, and when we call out the name here in a minute, you need to get a hold of them. There's several different ways you can get a hold of them, but get a hold of them, and the first person to get a hold of them needs to get them. They'll need to get them a choice of beverage shipped out. So, who are we going to do tonight, Deuce?
Well, I know he's a faithful listener.
Oh, great. Okay,
so, I don't want to punish people for being faithful listeners.
Right,
I really do appreciate it.
Sure, absolutely.
But it's kind of his turn in the wheel.
Okay.
So I think JB Kidd.
JB Kidd
of Iowa fame.
Yes, of Iowa and Indiana fame.
I think he needs to take his turn this week.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And when you call him about the White Claw or the ranch water, ask him about his summer home that he's planning for Indiana. So he'll know what the reference is.
He's fending off a lot of those rumors.
Yes. We're going to help. We're going to help fuel the flames to that. So the magnet is on. So no, fantastic. All right, JB Kidd. So get your wallet out, buddy. Get ready to ship something out, and we appreciate that a lot for supporting our show and supporting our listeners that are going to get a hold of you. So feel free to buy more than one if you get people that call in all at once.
Yeah.
So, So, but one's your obligation. So, all right, we'll pick somebody for next week's show. Anything else I forgot tonight?
No, next week is going to be On the Trail.
On the Trail,
which
absolutely.
will be cowboy action shooting and sass talk.
Fantastic. Looking forward to it. All right, folks. Again, thank you for listening. We greatly appreciate it. Like we always say, keep your powder dry. We'll see you next week. Thanks.